Welcome to Debugging 101. I'm going to give you a very brief intro to Visual Studio's debugger, and the principles will apply over to Xcode and others. Show you how to set a breakpoint and to watch values, and then how to use continue to look around your code and see what it does in between your watches and breakpoints. That'll all make sense in a sec when we dive in and see it work. Okay, so here we are with our slightly problematic loop. Now, I know that some of you may have spotted the bug in this straight away, but for those who haven't, I want to show you the systematic process of trying to find out what on earth's going on. So firstly, let's just remind ourselves what the symptom is. I've got a hidden word of ant, and if I type and, I get correctly 2 bulls, or if I put ape, then I get 1 bull for the A, but in both cases I'm getting too many cows, and the question is, why am I getting too many cows? So that's what we need to try and work out. So here's our logic, and it seems fine. Now, a couple of things on style, firstly, and style sometimes can fix it alone. This for loop and the if statement, we're both not putting our braces on new lines. Unreal would have us do this, and you may choose to do that for the for loops, and then again, Unreal's coding standards would have us do this, and this for the if statements. Now, you may want to do that. Personally, I find that means I need to go out to a smaller font, which is going to be harder for you to see, and also I don't find it quite as easy to take in. So I prefer to not do that and to revert all those changes and to have the code just a little bit tighter. Certainly my if statements, I'm happy for the fors to be spread out a little bit, but certainly these ifs in here, I like them to be tight. Now, if this offends you and you want a consistent style, then you can draw things, write things how you like, right? Bracket wars are pretty vile. It's irrelevant. The important thing is that you read code like a compiler reads code. Some people love their brackets there, some love them there. Who cares? I'm going for this for now, so that's deviating a little bit from Unreal Standard, so don't flame me for that. Now, the other thing is that we have used this I and J, which is pretty common, but actually this may be contributing to our problem. What is I here? Let's be more explicit about what I is. Firstly, it's in lowercase, and we'd normally use uppercase. What I is, it's the hidden word character, or something like that. So I'm going to call it hidden word character, or even my hidden word, MHW character. So so the my hidden word character is 0 and iterates up, and then this J thing, what it is explicitly, Control R, is the guess character. Now I'm making them shorter than full my hidden word character and guess character in this case, because otherwise they're going to split up these statements and make this whole lump of code even harder to read. But I think that this is better. Okay, so now we're being explicit about what our iterators are and what they do. We need to think about what's going wrong. Clearly what's going wrong in some respects is that this bull cow count.cows is being incremented too often. This is the thing that's happening too often. It's the only place that it gets incremented. So one way to deal with this is to put in the margin something called a breakpoint. If you click over on the left here, that will put something called a breakpoint. Put it on the line that's causing the problem to start with. And then when you run, instead of start without debugging, let's just start debugging, which is F5 by default, debug start debugging. Very similar tools are available in Xcode and other IDEs. You just have to have a play to get to them.
Hi, Sam here again. If you want to see how to do this in Xcode, just jump ahead to 7 minutes 50, where I will be showing you how to do the debugging.
So if we start debugging now, with this breakpoint in place, what it'll do is it'll start playing the game. Now imagine I put in, well, not even imagine, I'm going to put in and, A-N-D. You see, it doesn't give me a result yet. What Visual Studio has done is it's got as far as this breakpoint and stopped. And then it started to show me here under these tabs, Auto, Locals and Watch. It started to show me, in fact, the watches are things I've put in between videos, which is naughty, so I'm going to clear those. So you will have Autos, Locals, and nothing in Watch at the moment. And under Autos, you can start to see some of these values, and you can click Continue for it to go all the way through the loop again and start to see what happens. You can see the cow count getting too high really early here. Okay, and then it goes back to the running game, and we can try ant again, and now it'll go and break here. Visual Studio's flashing. You can go back to it. Okay, now you might suggest that if it's getting here too often, and it's getting this bit right, that maybe it's doing this if statement too often. Because this line here with the bool increment is working right, but it must be falling through to the cows too often, and to get to the cows, it must be doing this if statement too often. So is there a problem in this if statement? One thing you can do at this point, once the debugger is running, is this. You can highlight the logic, right-click, and say Add Watch. Okay, and what that'll do over on the watch list here is it'll tell you the value of this statement. Now, if this is working properly, and I put the word ABC in, for example, then you would expect this to go false some of the time as it compares the characters, right? Because ABC and ANT aren't the same, and you would expect to see a mixture of trues and falses. Let's see if that's what happens. Let's just quit the game for a moment, which you can do by saying stop debug. There was a little red button. I'll show you that again in a moment. So let's run again, put ABC, return, go over to the debugger, look here at the watch list, and then just keep clicking continue and watch this value. And it stayed true all the time. The value never deviated from true. So what I want you to do is squash that bug using the little you know of the debugger. See if you can use either the debugger or just your wit and knowledge to work out what the problem is. See if you can fix it. It's pretty simple. I've steered you in close to where it is, and then prove that it now counts bulls and cows correctly. And I'll see you when you're done. So hopefully by now you've seen what's going wrong. Let's stop the debugger. The button is there. Shift F5, stop debugging, or debug and stop debugging. So there's a very, very brief intro to the debugger. What I want you to do is play with the debugger a little bit. It really is a question of getting a feel for it and understand that you can put breakpoints in to stop it executing. If you debug without a breakpoint, then what it's going to do is just run, and you're not going to see anything in the debugger because it's all going to go past too quick. So you need to click in the margin to put in a breakpoint and just have a play with it. It's a pretty handy tool, and we'll revisit it as we need to. So what's happening here, I think it's quite clear now that I've changed these prefixes, is that I'm looking at the my hidden word character of the guess, but I'm also looking at the my hidden word character of the hidden word. Of course, I should be looking at the guess character here, gchar, and the my hidden word character there. And so what was happening is we were using the wrong index. Okay, so let's test that hypothesis. And put ant, and we get 3, 0. And if I put and, we should get 2, because the A and the D match ant, but the D doesn't. Great. Okay, and that's working. And if I put ABC, how many should we get? Well, we should get a single bull and no cows. And if I put ABT or ATN, for instance, which is ant backwards, I should get 1 bull and 2 cows. And I do. So it looks like that has fixed the logic, which is great news. So there's a brief introduction to the debugger, and I hope you will find it useful. Do use it and try and use it and just explore it and play with it. And we will revisit the debugger as we need to in the future when we come up with other inevitable bugs. See you soon.
So this is a little extra for those of you who are on Xcode, showing you how to do the debugging there. If you use Visual Studios, then that's it for the video. You can finish and go on to the next one. Okay, so for Xcode, debugging is really simple and very similar to Visual Studio, actually. So if I want to break on this line here, all I have to do is hit in the sidebar. You can see the symbol is slightly different. And I also have the ability to disable by clicking it, but I can also remove by clicking and dragging away like that. And you can see it disappears and with a vanish of smoke, but we want it enabled. And then to run it in debug mode, all we have to do is Command R or hit the run button up here. Both are the same thing. And it will actually do this running as in debug mode automatically for you. So I'm going to hit in a wrong guess like and you can see it goes through. And much like Visual Studio, we can see either all the variables that are in scope here. So we can see an overview of all the variables, or if we mouse over a variable, it will tell us what its current value is, like so. Okay, so that's all for debugging. Now simply go back to 3 minutes and 45 seconds in this video and continue as you normally would if you haven't already watched the whole thing.